This is One Sentence News, a daily podcast featuring 3 news stories with a sentence-long summary and 1 sentence of context apiece. I'm Colin Wright. This is a sponsored message. I've been using Anchor as my podcast host for a while now, and it's been a pleasure to use. Anchor offers benefits that most other hosts do not. It's free to use, but it also has a collection of tools that allow you to create a podcast completely within the Anchor website or smartphone app. They distribute your show to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other distribution channels without any additional effort on your part, and you can make money from your podcast without any minimum audience size. So you can use it as a more traditional podcast host like I do, but it's also got everything you need to start a podcast from scratch. If you're keen to give it a shot, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's Monday, August 29th, 2022. Let's talk about the news. From Reuters, Pakistan foreign minister says help needed after overwhelming floods. Floods have killed more than 1,000 people around Pakistan over the past few days, and that number is expected to tick still higher as more bodies are recovered. The floods were caused by unusually heavy monsoon rains. The far northern and southern portions of the country have been most heavily hit by these floods, and the Pakistani government has requested international help with what it describes as overwhelming devastation that has affected more than 30 million people already, mostly by forcing them from their homes. From the Wall Street Journal, Russia moves to reinforce its stalled assault on Ukraine. The Russian government is preparing to send new volunteer battalions to their front lines throughout Ukraine. These non-professional soldiers meant to help shore up flagging professional soldier numbers in the run-up toward faux elections in occupied territories in the coming weeks. These votes are managed by the Russians occupying Ukrainian cities and are meant to make it look like locals are voting to join Russia, even though these sorts of decisions are typically made ahead of time and/or the votes are cast while looking down the barrel of the occupying forces' guns. That said, the deployment of these volunteer soldiers supports earlier reports of higher-than-expected deaths amongst professional Russian soldiers on these front lines, and implies that Russia may be attempting to more rapidly annex these claimed territories in advance of some kind of peace deal, or perhaps to quickly formally integrate them into Russia so they can be used as advance posts during a longer conflict. And from Axios, Omicron booster shots are right around the corner. A new Omicron-focused booster shot is working its way through the U.S. regulatory system and may become available to Americans aged 12 and older as soon as the first week of September. These boosters are based on the same general principles as the first COVID-19 vaccines, but will target elements of the Omicron subvariant as well as the original version of COVID, which should make it more effective against the increasingly wily and contagious BA4 and BA5 Omicron subvariants that have become dominant in many parts of the world this year. The original vaccines still work against these subvariants, especially in terms of preventing worst-case medical outcomes, but don't work as well as they did against earlier versions of the disease, and this upgraded vaccine booster is meant to help bolster the recipient's defenses. Also worth noting is that this will likely be the last booster paid for by the U.S. government, and future boosters will probably need to be covered by the patient or their health insurance. If you're finding some value in One Sentence News, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com, and you can support this and other related projects like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts at understandery.com.